100% accuracy in a 22 move game. So here's how I did it. So e4, c5, I play the Sicilian. And one trick is to play as many book moves as possible because book moves cannot be a bad move. So try to get as many of them as possible. I play d6 and they play d4 and they go into the open Sicilian. Knight f6 attacking the center, knight c3 defending. Play my dragon Sicilian. Bishop e3. Queen e2 along with longside castle goes into the Yugoslav attack if I'm not mistaken. And it leads to a wild crazy game. Here we have f3, very normal move, very common, defends the center. And this allows movement of the knight to target the bishop. Castles, queen d2, knight to c6. I'm also preparing d5 now to open up the center. Queenside castles, d5. So obviously they cannot push because I'm just going to take it. And instead what they did was take on c6. If they just take on d5, I'm just going to take back. Takes, and we just have an exchange. My bishop is opened up. So they took, and then they took. If you counted the right way, you would actually think white is going to win a pawn. Knight takes, I take back, and then I'm going to lose a pawn on d5. And my rook is also under attack. But this is actually a very common line in the Dragon Sicilian, which is very tricky. And basically what I did was play a very tricky move here. Queen c7, targeting the c2 pawn. If they take on a8, which they didn't do, but let's just illustrate for a second here. I have bishop f5 threatening checkmate, and the queen is under attack. So they have to give up the queen for the rook. So they get 2 rooks for the queen. I get 2 bishops and a queen and this nice attack. So this is really nice for the black side. And actually they didn't do that, so they played bishop c4, which is just a blunder. All you really need to do is know a little bit of tactics here. Bishop to e6, attacking the queen and x-raying the bishop wherever they move the queen. I'm just going to take the bishop, so I'm going to be up a piece. Queen c5, best move. Yeah, now we have finally left the book moves, so now we're in outside theory. So I took and I just won my piece. Bishop takes e7, attacking my rook and winning a pawn. So I had to play rook e8, counter-attacking the bishop. Bishop moves away. And I take the a2 pawn. Before you wonder why b3 just doesn't trap the bishop, I actually calculated b3 for a relatively decent amount of time. So b3, I was going to play rook c8, trying to take this. And basically what I'm trying to do is I get a really nice attack and the king can never get my bishop because I'm controlling these 2 squares with my dark squared bishop. That's why the Dragon Sicilian bishop is such a monster. And we have rook d3, which is a very good move, defending the b3 pawn, because obviously this pawn is pinned. And rook e2, not only attacking the c2 pawn, but also attacking g2 and restricting the king. This is a very, very good move. Yeah, I mean, the king is already very restricted. These 2 squares are already taken. This one is taken by the bishop, and my rook is doing a good job as well, so he only has the d1 square for his king. So we have c4, which is a very good move, trying to counteract this pin. So I just move my rook away and attack this pawn. And I was actually calculating for a very long time if rook takes b3 actually works, because I would be threatening checkmate. So let's just say they do nothing. I take on here. I was worried about rook d8 being too good here. So obviously they cannot play bishop takes because that's mate. So they have to take with the rook. I am obviously threatening checkmate, but I thought that after king d1, I take on here. I somehow thought they would be able to play rook c8 and defend, but obviously the pawn is in the way. So if they would have done nothing, I wasn't actually sure if I would have taken on b3, but that didn't happen, obviously. Rook h to d1, and what's fascinating is that this is actually the best move, but I'm going to win material over here. So yeah, they obviously had to resign, because if they just move the rook in front, which they have to do, there's no other move, they're just going to lose both of the rooks. And then I'm just going to be up a rook, gonna take this pawn, attack the bishop. Yeah, and one bishop cannot possibly win them the game somehow. So yeah, that's why they resigned. The first one was play as many book moves as possible, know your opening. And the second one is try to calculate the best move as much as you can. So it was a 15-minute game, and at move 22 I only had 7 minutes. So there was a decent amount of calculation being done here. So rook c8, for example, took me like 2, 3, 4 minutes. And then he moved here. Rook e2 was relatively easy to find. And then, for example, rook b8, and then calculating all of this. So yeah, if you found the game interesting and my advice helpful, consider subscribing. Otherwise, that's it.